Hello, Lindsay Milner of selfearnedtraining.com here. How does work? Today I'm talking about the science of happiness. And you might be wondering, what does that have to do with work? You're miserable in your job, you don't get on with your boss, you don't get on with your colleagues, or at least that one woman who just completely gets on your nerves all of the time. Maybe your work's boring, but maybe you're stressed because you've got too much of it and you can't keep on top of it and you don't feel that you're in control of what you're up to. I get how that feels. I do understand. And you might be feeling that in order to be happy at work, what you need is a promotion, a better job, a pay rise, win the lottery so that you can quit and you don't have to do this miserable job anymore. Well, you're right, those things would make you happier, but just for a little while. And unfortunately, they're not that likely to happen. So why are you spending all of your time thinking that you're going to be happy if something really unlikely actually happens? You're wasting your life if that's how you feel and that's how you sort of focus all of your thoughts. So what could you do about it? I mean, you might have read, I was going to say that the happiness, even a pay rise, it's been shown, there's lots of scientific research out there that shows that those things do make you happier, but they only happen, it only makes you happier for a very short time, and the effect of it soon wears off. So then you're just focusing on the next thing, okay, you've got a pay rise, things are a little bit better, but then suddenly you're back to wishing that you could spend your days in a different way and you want to win the lottery so that you can quit work. So if that doesn't make a difference, what does? What is the thing that actually makes you feel happier? Well, it's the little things. It's how we live our life, the actions that we take day to day, the little things that we do, and they have to be done consistently, like literally every day. And those things do help us to feel happier in the longer term. So now you might be, all this self-help, all this positive thinking, claptrap, it doesn't work. I can tell myself to feel happier, but if I don't feel happier, what can I do about it? And I have to agree again. This was one of my bugbears with self-help books for such a long time. I remember sort of working full-time when my daughter was very small, reading a lot of these books and thinking, well, okay, I do my best. I try really hard to think positively, but, I'm still tired, stressed, unhappy, trying to juggle everything. Positive thinking doesn't work. And again, that is kind of true. I think the problem with a lot of these self-help books is that they tell you to think positive, but they don't tell you how to actually do that. And I think, to be fair, they possibly didn't really know, because the science of happiness is actually a relatively new science. Researchers used to focus more on what makes people depressed rather than what made people happy. But fortunately, that's all changed around in the last few years. Maybe the last, 30 years? I don't know. And I can't pretend that I've reviewed all of the scientific research. I'm not a scientist. I just have an interest in how our brain works and how these things affect our thinking. So I have read a reasonable amount of stuff. And what strikes me is that there are a lot of similar themes. A lot of things crop up consistently in the research. And one key thing is that it's now been discovered that there's this thing called neuroplasticity, and it is that if we change our habits, change our habitual thinking, then we can actually change the neural pathways in our brain. And by doing this, we can become happier. But there are specific things that you need to do, and as I say, you need to do them on a consistent basis. So as I say, I haven't read all of the literature by any stretch of the imagination, and I'm not a scientist, but in the reading that I have done, a few consistent things crop up. And what I'd like to do is just briefly talk about some of those today. I've given you some practical tips earlier this week, and I will come to those again in later videos, but for today, just a quick overview of things that make a difference. And the first one of these is to focus on the good things. And again, you can't just say, oh, I'm going to focus on the good things. You have to make a conscious effort. You have to find a way that helps you to do this consistently. So things like keeping a gratitude journal or other positive journaling, these things can actually help to build in a new habit of focusing on the good things. Maybe build in a period of reflection at the end of every day on what went well, or at the end of every week. Every day is going to be better than every week because, you can do weekly as well, but a daily practice is going to be so much more powerful. The second thing that makes a difference to our happiness is connection. So human connection, relationships, that can be your close personal relationship, or actually rather than can be, it will be your close personal relationships, your work friendships, your social interaction just on a day-to-day level, when you're in the newsagents. I was going to say in the newsagents buying a newspaper, but nobody does that anymore, do they? When you're in the local coffee shop buying your coffee on the way into work, you see the postman walking around in his work, you say good morning to him, you say hello to the neighbours. Any kind of social interaction, and the more you have of that, the happier we're found to be. The third thing is resilience. And in order to build resilience, we need to practice good self-care. So that's things like make sure you get enough sleep, make sure you've got a healthy diet, get some exercise. Yes, sorry folks, that's one that I personally battled with for a long time. But in the last couple of years, I've actually got the exercise habit. And the good news is even exercise, you start to look forward to it, you start to want it, you start to miss if you don't actually keep your routine going. As well as formal exercise, it does include, just getting outside for a walk, getting outside in nature, in a park, in greenery, by the sea, by water. All of this is found to help enhance our happiness. It also is useful to build in practices like proper relaxation, not flaking out in front of Netflix on the TV. You're just switching your brain off and not doing anything useful with it there. And meditation, that can be a walking meditation or listening to music, some other way of switching your brain off rather than mindless television. The fourth thing is maintain your curiosity. Continue learning new things, challenge yourself to take up, either learn a new skill at work that's going to help your career prospects, or take up a hobby that challenges your brain a little bit, something that involves learning a new skill and a new thing for your brain. Whilst we need the relaxation of stopping our brain from working, we also need the stimulation of making sure we do interesting things. Get new experiences, make sure you're always trying something new. Those things help us to maintain a feeling of happiness. And the fifth one is purpose. We need meaning in our lives. And if you're a family person and your family is really important to you, then obviously that is a strong purpose. If you're a spiritual person, you might feel that that is a strong purpose. But if you can find purpose in your work, then that is another way that you can really feel engaged and employed, gainfully employed at work, and learn how to be happy at work. If you feel that your work doesn't have meaning for you, then that is something that you do need to address, and it is something that we will be looking at in later videos in this series. Overarching a lot of these is autonomy. This often crops up. Daniel Pink talks about purpose, autonomy and mastery. Lots of other researchers talk about how autonomy is important. And you might feel that you're trapped in a job where you don't have the opportunity to exercise your personal autonomy. Everything's controlled, you're micromanaged, and I do get how frustrating that actually can be. But even if we're in a situation where there are some elements that we don't have control, we always have control over how we react to those situations. So the whole thing of affecting your thinking, we're back to, you can't just decide that you're going to think positive. You've got to take steps to train your brain really to do this. And like any new habit, it takes a long time and consistent practice before you get to the point where you go, oh hey, actually I think that has worked, I've noticed a change in how I feel. So autonomy is important, but the things that you can do, the practical steps, we'll come on to in later videos. As I say, I have already shared a couple of quick ones in videos earlier this week, but over the next few weeks we will definitely be including lots more practical tips, things that you can do that will develop that neuroplasticity in your brain and help you to make use of the science of happiness. If you want to know more, then please do subscribe to my new YouTube channel, and if you liked this video, I'd appreciate it if you would hit the like button. I'll see you tomorrow for more on housework. I'm Lindsay Milner, sylvantraining.com. Bye.